terms of the local economy, here, even in the Resident Commission, how I try to engage with it was, looking at the ways in which women self-help groups,
Right.
What are they doing in terms of creating livelihood, through their own, different ways of innovative, practices, be it through food, be it through craft, be it through making of dresses.
So when it comes to handlooms, handicrafts, so I want to know that what are the government policies, checks, and how exactly your governance can help this revive, bring it back, or give them an opportunity where we can have such international collaborations and go global, like really big, if we can do that.
I remember many of the homes saying, हाँ कश्मीर से वो एक फेरी वाला हमारे यहाँ आता है जो कि पश्मीना शॉल लेकर आता है और या ड्राई फ्रूट लेकर आता है, हम उससे खरीदते हैं और उसका इंतजार करते हैं. They would really wait for that person to come. Any wedding in the family, any festivity going on, they would wait for that person to come.
Bollywood, a lot of movies have been shot there. And we all have seen that. It's a place, it's a beautiful, pristine place which is still preserved.
Right.
So how big can this influence the soft power that we talked about in one of Sambhaav Utsav's meeting? So how do you think, ma'am, the social media's whole scenario, the soft power, can promote it and take it to a global level? I have worked with you for whatever episode I could and whatever meeting that I could share my thoughts on it, and I'll continue working with you. Thank you so much for being there. Welcome to my podcast, Bharat Charcha. Today I have a very esteemed guest, Dr. Rashmi Singh. She's an IAS officer and Principal Resident Commissioner for J&K. Dr. Rashmi, it's a complete pleasure to have you today. And
thank you, Avantika.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for taking out time. In fact, today we want to know from ma'am that how she's been an instrument in shaping Jammu Kashmir's art, heritage and culture, and how she's been the face to promote it. Let's dwell into this episode, and before you watch this, do not forget to like, subscribe and follow. We are very much excited to hear a lot of insightful points and leadership plus governance from Dr. Rashmi. Let's hear her out now. So I want to know, ma'am, we'll talk a little bit about culture, history, and since Jammu and Kashmir has always been known as a hub of knowledge. In fact, there have been a lot of scholars from globe who've always said that, if you haven't really been a true scholar and visited Jammu and Kashmir, you have not seen the knowledge hub and you have not really gone into the cultural side of it. Do you agree to this, ma'am? Is that a fact?
Of course. I myself had to experience that part of the knowledge hub, going to say the Lakshmanju Ashram and discovering that how, Abhinav Gupta, Lakshmanju and all the scholars who are into teaching us the depth of Shaivism.
Right.
Or, going up to the Shankaracharya hills and then you sit there and discover, the way Shankaracharya traversing all the way on foot so many centuries before coming to this place to meditate and then teach the world so much into, what seems as if it was just yesterday. You go to the hill and you feel the energy over there.
Right.
And then, going to many different places where I feel that energy, where I feel that history, I feel that connect, with the spirituality, I would say. So, it's real.
Right.
Yes.
So, ma'am, we are sort of still striving to get that legacy back. You think that we will one day have the same sentiment that we just left Kashmir with, when people would actually be there to learn, to have their scholarship, their degrees? People are still looking forward to be part of such rich heritage culture.
See, today, when you look at Jammu and Kashmir's educational pursuits in terms of the universities, be it the Kashmir University, the Jammu University, the Sher-e-Kashmir Agriculture University, the SQUAST, or, you have at, the other universities like IUST, the Islamic University. So everywhere, I feel that this pursuit for knowledge today is being honed by, not just very able set of teachers, scholars, but also that openness of cross-learning.
Right.
That openness of looking at indigenous knowledge.
Right.
And thanks to the National Education Policy, the NEP, it's very much a part of the curriculum now, that you're encouraged to delve deeper, to understand your traditions, and sky's the limit.
Right.
You also have national collaborations
Right.
with other universities, where I felt that our universities are truly benefiting from even international scholars who come, and they are a part of that dive into the indigenous traditional knowledge and
Correct.
heritage.
Yes.
And the kind of marvel that they bring, they show, that makes us proud in terms of the legacy that we carry.
That's true. Very wonderfully put, ma'am. In fact, I had this one of my questions, that how these international collaborations can, highlight the other side of Kashmir. But you have already spoken a little bit about it. So, ma'am, there are certain temples like Martin Sun Temple and Avantipura Temple. So, we are still trying to revive tourism through such places. And do you think we can add more to this so that people can come back and cherish the legacy and enjoy these places?
Yeah, certainly. You see, if you've seen a movie called Andi,
Hanji.
Where you had a beautiful song which was actually picturized there at the Matand, the Sun Temple. And whenever I go there, I remember that film which had also promoted tourism. People used to wonder, where is this amazing place? And then you have the International Yoga Day. In the wake of International Yoga Day, the government has been trying to, bring these different heritage places alive by using these as backdrops of, holding the yoga, conducting these programs for different set of participants. And even the Matan Temple has been such a backdrop. So in different ways, these places of our pride have been receiving the kind of attention that they merit. Absolutely. And of course, ASI is of course there as a government body, which is tasked to ensure that the part of it's protected, the fully protected, as per the protocol, that you should not just go in the name of development to find that these buildings are painted with like new modern colors. The heritage and the restoration part is something very, very technical. But at the same time, tourism to actually benefit from such amazing places, more people are aware of it. More people know about the history. More people know about the historical importance. More people know about the kind of architectural nuances which go into making of such architectural wonders. More appreciative they can be. They can engage with these monuments in a more informed manner. So it's not just like a religious sentiment, but it's like also the sentiments of knowing about the architecture students. So they also benefit when they go to such places. So, tourism as a whole, of course, it's not just entertainment, it's not just relaxation, but it's also a way of being more informed, informed about what's there in the different states. Like say for Jammu and Kashmir, it's again very important that so much is there, but people to be more informed about, the beauty, the wonder, the importance, the historical importance of these things.
Very well, ma'am. I think you've spoken rightly. In fact, today my endeavor to have this episode is this only, that through this episode, if we can share a message to people, the organizations who can help revive art, heritage, culture, organizations who can refurbish the structures which are much needed, which are still pride of India. So might as well reach us through. And there are organizations like, Intact or the UNESCO, which are working for it. But we need more of, collaborative effort, maybe, and more of sustained effort, more of consistent effort to ensure that these the monuments remain, the not just pride, but they are kind of revitalized as a whole for people to engage with it on a more real-time manner. Hanji, that's true, ma'am. In fact, in some time, ma'am, Kashmir's Asia's largest carpet was just unveiled and displayed. I remember it had about 37.5 crore knots. So that's quite an achievement. So this kind of title and artisan achievement was known internationally as well. How important that was for Kashmir, such a step?
See, it's very important now that like Kashmir, also Srinagar has been declared as a as a pride for the
Right.
like a craft capital,
Right.
and the craft over there, you see, brings the story of very very hard work and long traditions of the families who have passed on generations after generations, the kind of I would say the intricacies of art forms,
Right.
which the hands can the craftfully master. And such masters, it's important that they get highlighted
Correct.
by the kind of magic that they weave and create. Not easy, very difficult, years and years of hard work of mastering those art forms. So they bring the USP, right?
Right.
And it's very important for people to differentiate between what they see in the market, and in terms of, say, any carpet and the carpet which is produced in Kashmir. There's a difference.
There is.
So to understand the difference, in terms of what you said about the knot forms, or the kind of material used, and the kind of pattern, the motifs used.
Right.
So it's important again to engage with that entire process of how it's been created. Then you start valuing these art forms better. So each, probably, an inch of carpet has a story to tell.
Right. That's
So,
true. So I know that till date, when we talk about handlooms, when we talk about heritage, when we talk about Pashmina, so the minute we say that, only one name rings, which is Jammu and Kashmir, because we all know it hails from that place. And to preserve that and for us to know globally, it is very important that we always keep on shaping to revive the same art and culture.
Yeah, talk
we want
about it, inform people, let people get exposed to it, let people see the process. So, and through social media, of course, Avantika, what you are doing is also taking people to engage, with a more nuanced understanding. So I appreciate that.
Very kind of you. Another thing, ma'am, Srinagar was declared as the World Craft City, just as you just mentioned, So how important it is for the localites, the local artisans there, to recognize themselves to this kind of title, and what pride
Well,
it is
important because you see, it's very natural for people also to, at times feel that, well, our craft is not getting the kind of value which it truly deserves, the price which it truly deserves. And people are not able to distinguish between, what's like world class and what's not of appropriate standards. So a title like this does help because, then it comes with a validation. It comes with it's like an accreditation of and a validation which helps people to get the right price, the right value, the right credibility, to also get the, the dignity which any such like art form, truly deserves. And I think, in Srinagar, now people are like also wanting to explore in terms of, say, going for these, craft walks, walking down the, like, say, the weavers' houses and seeing what they are doing, the magic which they are creating inside the house with their hands. And of course, like, you do need total peace and law and order for it. Yeah, and the government is fully committed for it, as we know that, that's a primary focus all the time. But yeah, this is something which does help the local people.
Right.
Yeah, that they say the GI tag, the geographical indication system, that also helps because, then it brings again the right value of something which, is something very, very local to the place. Yeah, and GI tag has helped in bringing a better value to many of the products from Kashmir, from Jammu.
Right. That's true, ma'am. And, since we all know that this place is full of real artisans who really have the potential to create the best and maybe not only keep it in India, but they can spread it worldwide.
Right.
And as I feel that, Srinagar, and it has been titled, such a prestigious title that was given to it, does it also help them boost the economy? Yes or no, ma'am? But we would definitely want to work towards it. If no.
It does help in boosting economy. And now, given the fact that, market, the world market, is opening now with the kind of, in the internet age, where you can simply post your craft through social media, through e-commerce, so all these platforms are there. There are many different platforms which people are taking advantage of to boost their product. And of course, we have trade promotion, organization, doing shows and exhibitions to promote the work of, artisans and our weavers. So, that also helps. So now, the greater the visibility and, the bigger the market.
True.
So, and it is definitely helping many people in the value chain. So it's not just the one major person whose name is well known, but there may be many others whose names are not so well known.
Right.
Yet they do benefit from the value chain.
Right.
More the orders are, the better the geographical, I would say, the network spreads.
Yes.
So, which today, I think, thanks to the infusion of various kind of, the interventions created by the government too, and the enterprise of people themselves. So both have led to many successful startups too. Even the youngsters, who have seen their parents probably deal in the old ancient manner, where we remember the times when, there would be some fairy wala.
That's true.
So it's not the fairy story, but the fairy wala story, which used to be very common when we were growing up.
Right.
Say in a place like Bihar too, Ranchi, Jharkhand.
Yes.
I remember many of the homes saying, हाँ कश्मीर से वो एक फेरी वाला हमारे यहाँ आता है जो कि पश्मीना शॉल लेकर आता है और या ड्राई फ्रूट लेकर आता है, हम उससे खरीदते हैं और उसका इंतजार करते हैं. They would really wait for that person to come. Any wedding in the family, any festivity going on, they would wait for that person to come. But today it's very easy. Things can even be just couriered.
Right. Yeah. You're very right, ma'am. I can actually resonate with what you said right now. And I'll be very honest, this episode is slightly more special to me than other episodes because I have personally delved into it, read about it, and my effort in future would only be this, that I could visit Jammu and Kashmir, speak to the people, speak to the artisans, help them revive. And, instead of they going straight away to the warehouses, they could, deliver what they want to or showcase their art on social media, on platform where people can directly connect with them.
Absolutely. Maybe you can also encourage dialogue, a dialogue with the artisans.
Right.
So I appreciate the power of technology to create interfaces and positive, constructive engagements. Nothing like creating, such dialogue between, say, the buyer and the seller.
Right. That's true, ma'am. You're very right. So we'll come on this question, ma'am. There are certain new emerging opportunities which everybody is always looking at, be it social media, be it reviving art, be it creating. How challenging it is for an artisan, ma'am, to create a particular thing, showcase it, sell it. Do they get their dues from people they sell it to? Or do they get disheartened and withdraw from their artisan life?
See, not easy, I would say. See, when it comes to getting its true worth, there are years and years of struggle, I know.
Right.
And when people make it big in terms of name, it is easier. But not everybody, overnight can turn into a big name. So it's like a, piece of painting. Well, there's a big name selling that painting and it fetches a huge price. But the similar painting without a name, the painter has to struggle. And so the same thing goes about any artisan's work too. But at the same time, perseverance helps. And, you never know when your time comes.
That's true.
And maybe the small gains, you have to keep it going.
Right.
So rather than just getting disheartened for only the big gain to come your way and quick and fast. So maybe it does come. You should not be disheartened. And that's what we keep telling the artisans, the artists. We keep engaging with them. And, it's nice to see that they bring that natural, kind of resilience, which helps.
Right.
Yeah. So, I do feel that, there's so much still to be done in this sector.
Right.
But, I actually salute the resilience of people, who struggle and yet they don't give up. And there are umpteen number of examples like that.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
So, ma'am, there are crafts like pashmina, papier-mâche, and it takes years and years to develop a craft like that, which is like a treasure. It's a cultural treasure. So, I want to know, ma'am, do you think that with this kind of present scenario that we are in, the generations to come and the generation now, will they be taking interest and revive and continue with it, with the legacy that their parents had?
You see, I feel that, now with the youngsters, being open to the idea of innovation,
Correct.
Creativity, exploring bigger markets, and being open to creating networks, a supportive network. So they have their own way of engagement, right? They have their own way of creating networks through, again, the use of information technology, and they're more informed today. So I feel that they will not give up. I'm very hopeful that they will not give up, and they take pride in terms of the niche which they have, and their pride in is it cannot be translated into something which is like hum to kuch bhi kar lenge. Nahin, they take pride in what they do, in terms of bringing the passion to their work. So I feel that this is like a die-hard spirit. And I've observed this, spirit in Kashmir, in Jammu, in various regions where I've traveled. I've seen this spirit, and they're very hardworking, and there's ability to take a risk. So how can we assume that any kind of challenges and setbacks and turmoils in their lives will just hit back their spirit? No, it will not. So I'm not just hopeful, but very confident, that the youth will just carry on.
Correct. That's such a positive thought and narrative. I'm sure people who are listening to you, the viewers, the subscribers, they would definitely love this thought from you, because youth definitely needs that advice. They need that encouragement, and especially to carry forward such a legacy. It is important that people like you foster them and let them know that they're brilliant at their work, and it must continue. That's
absolutely. Thank you.
So tell me one more thing, ma'am. Do you think today's technology, like we've just spoken, we have a vast platform when it comes to social media, when it comes to technology. So modernizing Kashmir traditional work, can it be carried forward through such platforms? And we can go very much further.
Yeah. Look at the design, revolution, which is there with the use of technology.
Right.
Well, we all know that the market changes fast. It's very, very rapidly changing, consumer-driven market, where new restaurants keep opening, and then maybe the same owner will shut down the old one, and in 3 years' time start a new one. Same thing goes with the design. So people want to keep trying new things and make things which are in fashion outdated very fast. So how do you keep up with it? So to cope up with this kind of a fastly changing world, and in terms of the creative design element, technology does help, and there are institutions, our government institution too, which help in terms of creating that design infusions, where our artists, our artisans, our weavers, they are able to take advantage of it. Our handloom and handicraft development, the department, the corporations. So they also have set up these design centers where they help in terms of making people more familiar with the contemporary, including, not just the national, but the international demand and the consumer taste. And, so that helps in terms of bringing, the awareness about the market, and use of technology to create better designs, and where people had to earlier struggle a lot, and used to be slow, not that fast in terms of adaptation and responding to the market.
True. And I hope this kind of conduct can only help them preserve this art better. That's what we are always
so while we talk about preservation, while we talk about learning from the indigenous designs and patterns and processes, there's also a simultaneous need of customizing it to the contemporary tastes. So, there's today a need for a match between modernity and tradition. And that's what the continuous attempt should be.
Right.
So, as long as you're able to marry the two,
True.
with the right balance,
Right.
I think, things are more sustainable.
Absolutely. We just spoke about international collaborations, ma'am. So when it comes to handlooms, handicrafts, so I want to know that what are the government policies, checks, and how exactly your governance can help this revive, bring it back, or give them an opportunity where we can have such international collaborations and go global, like really big, if we can do that ever.
See, in terms of policy, I talked about GI. So GI is certainly one of the I would say a very enabling mechanism, where you're able to distinguish between something which is genuine,
Right.
something which is pure, something which is original, something which is really local, something which brings the value of, local traditions. So that's something which the government itself, has a system of, making that GI tag,
Right.
where people know what they are paying for.
Right.
Yeah, people are sure that they're not going to be cheated.
Correct.
So that enabling mechanism has helped, in terms of promoting the, I would say many, handicrafts persons. And but at the same time, I talked about the trade promotion part, the exhibition part, going international in terms of the exposure part,
Yes.
creating better visibility, bringing people in touch with the global market.
Right.
So that's also a continuous process of trade promotion going on, whether, through Delhi, the ITPO, the International Trade Promotion Organization,
Right.
where there's a lot of exposure given in terms of, the rights to stakeholders meeting each other. So that's a continuous effort. And from the Resident Commission, we also tried in our own modest way, created a platform called Sambhaav Utsav.
Right.
So it was a fest where we used our own space, at the Resident Commission to bring our own, artisans and handicraft persons and, weavers who came from different parts of Jammu and Kashmir, face to face with, the global market in terms of people who came from, say, PhD Chamber of Commerce,
Right.
the ASSOCHAM, the CII,
Yes.
the Cottage Emporium,
Right.
from other embassies. So besides, of course, people otherwise who just walk in, to see what's happening and then, get tempted to just purchase on spot.
That's brilliant. You've very well spoken about GIA. I think that's like an authentic stamp from the government on anything which is created by the region itself there,
Right.
which definitely acts like a rooted traditional thing for an ordinary man who buys it. So now I want to know slightly different, ma'am. Bollywood, a lot of movies have been shot there. And we all have seen that. It's a place, it's a beautiful, pristine place which is still preserved.
Right.
So how big can this influence the soft power that we talked about in one of Sambhaav Utsav's meeting? So how do you think, ma'am, the social media's whole scenario, the soft power, can promote it and take it to a global level so that, when we talk about boosting economy, this should, play as a pivotal role to spread a message?
Okay. So, that actually brings me to talk about the natural landscape,
Right.
which is so beautiful. And the whole of Jammu and Kashmir, it's kind of blessed with beauty all around. जो हम कहते हैं जिसको चप्पे चप्पे पे खूबसूरती है. So, when there is so much of natural bounty, who needs a Bollywood stage? The stage is all there, the canvas is all there, it's so richly painted. And through, say, Sambhaav, we try to also bring that kind of tapestry of showing the beauty and diversity, where we call a lot of painters who would actually paint and, the different, the nuances which often people might just overlook. So, we ask the painters to bring that kind of richness, whether to flowers, whether to the sky, whether to the lake, whether to the chinar tree.
Right.
So all has a different story, and that's what the films also bring.
Right.
The films really bring it, so well in terms of, playing on the backdrop of the mountain, the snow peaks, the green meadows, so every place, that you name, that's something which is like so scenic,
Right.
that it makes a perfect scenario for anybody, who would want to have a natural setting in which you can, so it's not just your film but the real life.
Yes.
So I would encourage you to actually
I would
try
love
for
to.
yourself and take many others along with you.
I would love that.
Yeah,
In
because
future, I'm
then what you see on the canvas is something which you take it, very much within you. You absorb each fragrance,
Right.
and that's what it is all about.
It's
This
very
fragrance
pristine,
abound,
That's true.
in bounty.
That's right, ma'am. It has a very rich heritage, very
Mhm.
rich culture, very pristine.
Mm.
And you talk about the landscape, you talk about the areas around it. I think whoever
Mm.
has shot movies there or people who aspire to go there,
Mm.
they don't really have to add anything to it. It's something which is very
They will
naturally.
spoil if they add. Yeah, it's better not to add.
Not to
It's
add it.
just to highlight what's there.
Utilize the best part of it. As
Just
it is.
highlight
There
that,
should be no
absolutely.
hindrance to
Each
it.
color, each color speaks volumes.
That's true.
The same flower, when I compare, the color is different from what you'd see in other states
Right.
to what I see there.
Right. I have personally seen, ma'am, in Sambhaav Utsav, you take a lot of pain and you take a lot of interest in people who were part of it, who had chaired the meeting and they were there
Mhm.
to talk about their arts, their culture. There was, in
Mhm.
fact, a huge mela, I would say, wherein, people from all walks of life had displayed their regional products, their paintings, their shawls, everything.
Mhm.
So, for that kind of endeavor and effort, it takes a lot. And I truly say that when you have to talk about somebody's display of art, you have personally gone there, spoken to them, given an opportunity. That is wonderful, ma'am. I think it's a great initiative.
Mhm.
And I'm always looking forward to work with you to promote it as much I can.
That would be wonderful. And we also, wish to create like a, Sambhav experience throughout the year.
Right.
So, that's very much in the offing,
Yeah.
where we are all working towards it.
Right.
That how to create that, like,
That's true.
what's the best in terms of craft, culture, cuisine,
Right.
and, what Jammu Kashmir,
Right.
is known for in terms of its beauty and its diversity. So bringing the best out here in Delhi itself through the Resident Commission.
That would be lovely, ma'am. If we can make it like a 24/7 thing, people can go visit anytime and, might as well buy it for themselves.
And
It's
Avantika,
available.
like, you must also let people, invite people to engage with the process.
Right. I would love to do that.
Thank
I'm
you.
going to participate in that. So now, ma'am, slightly let's talk about Kashmiri cuisine, which
Right.
is, I'm sure when you talk about it, there's already water in my mouth because it's one of the delicious meals that, you want to go for. It takes a lot of time to prepare a food like that. And it's not something that can just be done, say, like in a span of 1 hour. How do we preserve this legacy, ma'am, and try to put it forward amongst the masses to understand that this Kashmiri food culture is very much available and they must continue preserving it?
Well, the food again has like kind of goes with, a lot of other things,
Right.
like the way it is served, the way it's cooked, what vessel it's like served in.
Yeah.
You would have seen the nice copper vessels, and
Yes.
they're so beautifully engraved. And, the way people eat, it's like a, whole community feast. And so, I have myself been privileged to enjoy that kind of hospitality. And so while so many different types of cuisines and the Vazman,
Right.
which brings like an assembly of,
Yes.
many delicacies,
That's true.
both in non-vegetarian and vegetarian. I'm a vegetarian. So earlier people used to say that, well, you will miss on rishta and gushtaba and the kebabs. But I did not, because I got enough even in vegetarian.
Right.
My nadru, so delicious. The aloo dum, which is made in the Kashmiri style,
True.
with the kind of color of Kashmiri mirch, and you're making it so special. And even simple thing like the hak saag,
Yes, that's true.
it's so nice. So everything like very simple, but again, why bringing a beauty is because of the purity of things. Yeah, the way it's all organic, and I would actually know the sources from where I'm getting the nadru,
Right.
from where I'm getting the haksar. And I could be very sure that, well, nothing could be more pure than this.
Right.
And well, the taste is so. So it's not just the way in which it is made. Also the importance of that food was what food, where it's coming
That's
from.
true.
And when we try and promote the cuisine here, we talk about all those things. So in Sambhaav, we made an attempt that let people know, where it's coming from. We said, well, this nadru, it came from Dal Lake. And well, the importance is to just go up.
That's true.
And I'm aware of the fact that there are certain restaurants also in Delhi itself, which offer good,
Yeah.
authentic Kashmiri food.
Right.
But at the same time, like when we talked about Sambhaav, in Sambhaav, our experience would not have been complete, as you said, without giving a flavor of the cuisine too.
Right. Because I think, ma'am, food is such a thing that brings everybody together. It begins from there, all the gatherings. And I feel there should be a dedicated institute wherein, the youths can go preserve the legacy, learn and carry it forward. And do you think, ma'am, in coming times, we can prepare a legacy like that through these mechanisms like culinary institutes, wherein the recipes, heritage recipes can be best prepared, cooked and served before the people who still love the food there?
Yeah, why not? See, there are definitely institutes which, kind of promote the food technology and, even preservation of certain items which otherwise may not have long shelf life.
Right.
So I've seen the kind of preservation which is happening, of creating like various kinds of product from apricot and apple and the Kashmir, the saffron itself, coming in different forms. And so there are ways in which we talk about preservation of, all these, the natural homegrown things.
Right.
But at the same time, for the market to be opening up more and more, we would like that people should understand, the purity of things.
That's right.
Because the same set of things may be available elsewhere also.
Right.
So how do you distinguish between what's, more healthy,
That's
more
true.
nutritious, more pure, more organic?
Right.
So, it's not about just the, how the chef prepares the food, but what material is being used. I understand that in Jammu itself, there are so many different varieties of masalas, herbs. In Kashmir, different districts, so many different herbs, which you cannot imagine. So getting those herbs makes the food more special.
Right.
So, let's know about those raw materials.
Very well, ma'am.
Yeah, which are so local.
Right.
Maybe so difficult to get those.
Very difficult.
But if you know it, you'll be able to source it from the right places.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad, ma'am, that you spoke about both the recipes, not only for the non-vegetarians, but there is plenty of food to try for vegetarians also, the ones who love
Absolutely,
that.
absolutely.
And they can equally relish the flavors of Kashmir, which is the need of the hour, and people must understand. And they should be encouraged to prepare such things more so that it can be preserved and taken it forward.
The
That's the
dairy
difference.
product, let me tell you, the paneer, I mean, how am I forgetting that? Again, it brings not just a rich flavor, with the herbs and how it's prepared, but the quality of dairy products is very, very good in the whole of Jammu and Kashmir. And I actually wondered how it was so. And you can imagine it's like a value chain.
Right.
Yeah, what our cattle is grazing on makes a difference
That's true.
in the kind of quality of milk which
Yes.
comes out.
Yes. That's true, ma'am. Very well. So, how big a role can tourism play on such things, ma'am, when we talk about cuisine, culinary? How can we boost this? Because there are still certain places. I remember visiting Srinagar and I was literally craving for good Kashmiri food.
Right.
So, when you're moving in the local streets, you really want to try those flavors and not go to a specific dedicated place.
Yeah.
So, this plays a very vital, important role for the
Absolutely, yeah.
tourists.
No, I think, tourists have to go with that mindset,
True.
of exploring what's local, and rather than just asking for pizza and pasta.
That's true. That's right. That's such a place. I mean,
yeah. So, then they do proper justice to tourism. So it's not just seeing a place, but experiencing a place, which mean actually experiencing, flavors in all forms.
Right. I wish people understand this through this episode, that it's very important to intact the Kashmiri cultural and original flavors in the food, which will also help boost the economy of the place. That's the whole idea.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's true, ma'am. So, ma'am, how do we strive the balance between keeping traditional cooking alive and at the same time adopting the modern techniques? Just as you've said that, people have to realize that you're going there to try Kashmiri food, but not only invest in.
Okay, so see, it's very interesting. You said about tradition and modern.
Right.
Right.
The balance, how
The balance, it works both ways, not just for the tourist, but I think for the way the families, look upon cooking and coming with healthier option is something which should actually be like a dynamic process. Why I'm tempted to add this is because I myself question on the use of, say, maida.
Right.
Yeah, the refined flour. Now, refined flour in like many of the breads in Kashmir, I saw that maida was being used. So my question was, can't we have a healthier option?
Okay.
Yeah, and now I believe that people are looking for, healthier options in terms of, what kind of wheat is being used, what kind of can they use millets? Yeah, I mean, coarse grain.
True.
So those things, so that would be the right balance between tradition, the way it's, probably
That's true.
the breads
Right.
are today taken out from the tandoor, in the morning, every family would set out
That's
to
true.
actually savor the fresh hot bread
Right.
from the local tandoor, which has a particular name, by the way. It's interesting for you to discover that,
Right.
which I myself, by the way, in Pahalgaon, when I went to Pahalgaon, I tried to go to that local tandoor to see how it's being made and then savor the taste with butter and that
Right.
bread with the noon chai, which is something very local and out of the world it was. Yeah, so that makes, kind of process very, very enriching.
Right.
But at the same time, in terms of ingredient that I said, that we should be open to, like if there are healthier options, also seeing how we can use those.
I really like, ma'am. I think this episode serves as a storytelling to people and to the viewers who watch us today, because, it's more like your own experiences that you've had. And this also shows your keen interest in the place. So I'm sure you've always done justice to this place. And in future also, you'll keep doing the best for it. And we know that about it.
Yeah. I mean, Jammu Kashmir is like a part of my, spirit and soul, I would say.
We'll slightly talk about inclusions, leadership, and some social reforms. Like you are rightly known for certain social reforms, ma'am. And I would want to know that how and what initiatives you have taken for Jammu and Kashmir when it comes to leading their cultural aspect, when it comes to, we've just spoken about the cuisine. But I want to know towards the empowerment and economic growth of people who are living there.
Well, in my case, I have, tried to engage more with the local enterprise of women. And it was like over and above what a particular portfolio actually mandated me to do. For example, as commission taxes, I would have looked at different ways of economic revitalization. Or as secretary mining, or as, when I was with the higher education. So those are different portfolios. But here, in terms of the local economy, here, even in the restaurant commission, how I tried to engage with it was, looking at the ways in which women self-help groups
Right.
What are they doing in terms of creating livelihood, through their own, different ways of innovative, practices, be it through food, be it through craft, be it through, making of, dresses.
Right.
And it's not just Sambhaav Utsav here in Delhi, but I'll be happy to share with you that we could give such women opportunity to participate in, wider market, say invite them to Lucknow. Yeah, where we had something called Akansha Heart. Invite them to Mahakumbh, for the whole of 45 days at Prayagraj.
Right.
Women from different districts, representing the self-help groups, in collaboration with the Urban Development Department of Government of J&K,
Lovely.
where Mandeep is our colleague officer over there, who's the commission secretary there. So, we could engage with them, to be able to, have a much wider market.
That's true.
And I tell you, it's not just like a question of, how much did they sell? The kind of exposure which the women got, the kind of market linkages, the kind of, the awareness on the opportunities which they could avail from participation in those places,
Right.
has been extremely rewarding. So that's my way of contributing,
Right.
to the local economic development.
That's fabulous, ma'am. You've actually broadened the spectrum, the very definition of giving them a chance through all these initiatives that you've just spoken about, which is lovely. And you've closely worked with the government and, of course, grassroots level. And that's how you were able to tell us and narrate a story about Jammu and Kashmir and how you work towards it. The communities who inspire today. So any personal moment, ma'am, or anything which is very close to your heart when you've gone through this journey that you would want to narrate to the audiences today?
Yeah, because last conversation that, the piece that we spoke about in terms of giving women such opportunities.
Right.
So for me, it was like very, touching to discover, say, in Lucknow, when I spoke to many of the women who came from different districts, or in Mahakumbh, because I was wearing another hat over there as the president of Akansha Samiti, which is the IAS Officers' Wife Association of Uttar Pradesh. So in that hat, I was in a position to, get that exhibitions organized, give it publicity, give it a wider market, and then be able to actually afford opportunity to the women self-help groups from Jammu and Kashmir. So the kind of the reflections which I heard from them, so that was very touching. Why? Because many women there said that they were stepping out first time. So they stepped out of the confines of their district for the very first time. They could come anywhere to any part of the country. So it was very, very gratifying for me. And then, they were brave enough to venture out and look at the various beautiful architectural pieces in, say, Lucknow. So a special trip was organized for them. So it becomes, very, very, heartrending for me to, hear their expressions, when they avail of such opportunities and reflect back and say that, well, now my life is going to be different from what it was.
Yes.
Yeah, so exposure does that to you.
Right. That's true. I think exposure does that to everybody, the minute you know.
Absolutely. And it's our duty, wherever we are, to be able to give such opportunities and exposure to as many people. And in my case, of course, since I'm more partial towards women and young girls, so I would love to do that.
And how much ever you can empower them, that's true.
Good.
So now, ma'am, you have spoken about governance, you've spoken about policies in place, you've also talked about how you can empower women there and spoken about rich art, heritage, culture. So many things that you've already spoken in this episode, which is clearly laid out as a platform for people who are watching us today. And it draws like a chapter one after the other, because we speak of the dynamics when it comes to cultural cuisine, to handlooms and preserving their culture. Just a closing thought. What is your view and how do you see emerging new Kashmir?
You see, as I said,
and your vision for it.
Okay, my vision, of course, is to see always peace and happiness and beauty, always, and I think people's participation in making it
Right.
that everlasting, place of pride
Right.
is something which I envision, and which, of course, as we see the new Kashmir, where we look at the hopes and aspirations of the youth with their confidence, with their active participation.
Right.
So it gives me that hope that no matter what, they will keep changing things for the better, and make us all always proud of the positive things.
That's true. You've given us a wonderful insight, ma'am, when it comes to a balance in traditional and the modern growth and how things can be relished and preserved. Now, there's slightly a question where I feel, of course, their global presence is also wide. People know a lot about Jammu and Kashmir, and there have been so many foreigners and people from outside India who come and visit this place. So definitely we need people like you who have always been encouraging all these artisans, and time and again when you chair such meetings, you talk about it, how we can go further with its development and towards its economic growth. It's been a fabulous thing knowing all these things from you, ma'am. I'm sure it will serve as a insightful episode for people who are watching us today. Slightly a personal question. Now, you and your husband, ma'am, you hold a very high position in bureaucracy. I would want to know, how does it feel to be such a power-packed couple?
Interesting, yeah. It's like, that feeling of completing each other. It's,
Right.
the Ardhanarishwar part. So even though we may be geographically apart for most of the time, yet we feel that we complete each other.
Wonderful. That's such a beautiful thing that you have put together, and I'm sure people will learn from
Thank
this.
you.
That how you move forward towards your duties, and at the same time how you've taken care of everything at home and balance your relationship also. Thank you so much, ma'am, for this wonderful.
Thanks a lot, Avantika, for being a part of this journey. I remember that you've been a part of the Sambhaav Utsav, the Sambhaav Manthan Satru,
Right.
talking about culture and heritage.
Right.
So do keep this flair alive,
Thank
so
you
that
so
we have
much.
more and more people, who keep coming to promote the tourism, to promote the local heritage, the local craft, and boost the economy, and keep the nation as integrated and proud of who we all are.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
ma'am. This is something, that's why I said this episode is especially very close to my heart, because, I have worked with you for whatever episode I could and whatever meeting that I could share my thoughts on it, and I'll continue
Thanks.
working with you.
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Thank
for
you.
being there.